Okay guys, so today I'm here to talk to you about Florence Pugh. And you may be saying, Cassie, why are you standing? To which I say, why aren't you standing? Florence Pugh has been really popular lately, and I've really been interested in her as an actress for a while. So her new movie, Don't Worry Darling, is coming out like right now as we speak. I'm gonna have to like speed edit this video. Florence has been in the news a lot lately. She's kind of like really been hitting her stride lately as an actress. So I thought, why not just watch some of her movies? So today, well, in this video, I'm gonna be watching about 5 of Florence's movies, kind of spanning her career. So I'm starting with The Falling, which is her first ever like debut, hitting the middle a little bit, and then ending with some of her more recent work. So that would be fun just to see how she progressed as an actress, if she started with some good projects or if it was kind of downhill. And then going on into Don't Worry Darling coming out. So if you kind of like this video, let me know. There's been some mixed things about the movie, so I'm gonna talk about that really briefly, and then we're gonna get into the movie. There's been some drama around Don't Worry Darling. If you didn't see, if you have like no idea what I'm talking about, Don't Worry Darling is this movie directed by Olivia Wilde, starring Florence Pugh and Harry Styles, and there's some other bigger names in there too, like Chris Pine and Nick Kroll. It was shown at the Venice Film Festival, and there was just a lot of drama right around that time. During the production time of this film, it might have been like right at the beginning of post, I'm not exactly sure, Olivia Wilde was served divorce papers while at a convention, so that was kind of the first like big thing. And then recently it was announced that Shia LaBeouf was supposed to play the role that Harry Styles ultimately plays, and he backed out, and there was kind of some like speculation around why. There was some people saying it was because Florence was scared of him, because Shia LaBeouf is a known method actor, which means like kind of really engrossing yourself in the role and never exiting the role. Like even when you're not filming, you're still playing your character. So there was some drama saying Florence was scared of him. And then a video leaked of Olivia Wilde sending a video message to Shia LaBeouf, asking him to stay on the movie and hopefully figure some things out. Very well known now calls Florence Pugh Miss Flo, which did not sit right with a lot of people. So then Shia LaBeouf came out and showed text messages with Florence showing that Florence didn't have any issues with Shia, basically saying, I don't know why people are saying I'm scared of you, I really hope we can meet up and talk, and Shia ultimately backing out of the role. You see that in the text messages. And I want to say, Shia LaBeouf seems, if these text messages are real, I don't know obviously, he is like the driest texter. Like Florence says one time like she's at like a funeral or she's like having to deal with someone passing in her life, and Shia's like, oh yeah, go handle your things. Like just the most unsympathetic recognition. I also saw a TikTok recently, a production assistant who talked about bringing the flash drive with the script to Shia LaBeouf, and he brought it on a flash drive because you don't want it on the script on the internet, you don't want it to leak, so that's why they would do that. And apparently Shia LaBeouf had like no idea what the script is about, like he'd never heard of it, so just a lot of confusion. Moving forward to the film festival, Florence was noticeably missing from like the press, the panels, and she didn't sit with like any of the main cast during the screening. And then there was this drama where apparently Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine, and then that was denied, and just everyone looked annoyed and bothered, and it didn't look good for Harry Styles, it didn't look good for Olivia Wilde. Chris Pine did not look like he wanted to be there. Anyway, so there's just been so much tea, so much drama. Also, the Rotten Tomatoes score has come out and it's like a 36. It's like a really rotten score. And then there's been people saying that Harry Styles is a horrible actor, and then I've heard some people saying it's like okay, but clearly not as good as like Florence and Chris Pine. Anyways, that's the Don't Worry Darling drama. So if any of that seems interesting to you, the movie I believe is out right now. I'm not promoting it, I'm not saying anything against it, I'm just saying it's out, and that's all. So now that I've said all that, let's get into this video. We're gonna watch some Florence movies. It's gonna be great. To the first movie. Guys, so it's been a minute. I'm here to discuss the first movie I've watched, which is The Falling. There's not much to say, I'm afraid. Well, let's just I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. I did not finish this movie, and that's all I have to say. No, just kidding. Okay, so I have a few things to say. I'm not gonna talk for like 10 years like I did in my last video. I'll make this a little bit more succinct. This actually led to me creating a list on Letterboxd of DNFs, did not finish movies, because this happens so rarely. But guys, this movie was so bad. It was so bad. It was so hard to watch, and it was so hard to stay focused. I'm gonna read you my quick few little notes I have from when I was watching the movie. My first one is I'm scared, because the vibes in this movie are so weird. It like almost feels like an experimental movie. It like, you don't get like an opening to the characters. It kind of feels like you just jump right into the middle of a video or a movie. You went to the bathroom and were gone so long that you have no clue what's going on anymore. That was just like too jarring. Also, like all the scenes just feel like incomplete. It kind of feels like you're an alien like arriving to a planet and then trying to understand like how humans talk. And there's also like a dark filter over this whole movie. It's giving Twilight, dark academia, but I'm still scared. Kind of what I understand from it, the movie is about these British girls who go to a preparatory school. It's like very like a bougie high school where they're all in like uniforms. They kind of are like the elite uniforms. Have you ever seen that show? It's like the navy blue with like the red lining. And Florence Pugh and Maisie Williams are best friends in the show, but it honestly takes you so long to figure out if they're like sisters or they're friends. And then it shows them at Maisie Williams' character's house, and I'm like, whose mom is this? Like I couldn't figure out whose mom it was, and like it never sets up the relationship, so it took me like a really long time to figure out if they were friends, if they were all related. Like the whole time I was watching it, I was like that meme with the lady with the math in front of her face, like just trying to understand anything. I have a note that says, I am so confused. This is not linear, ? I feel drunk, like sentences are not making sense. This is a spoiler, but I don't think any of you are actually gonna watch this movie. Florence Pugh dies in the first like half hour, and then she's like not in it anymore. So it's not like I missed any of Florence's acting, which I think is what this video is about. Because she dies, and then it's kind of like dealing with the trauma of her dying, and it doesn't, as far as I got, it didn't really say what she died from. She thought she was pregnant, and she thought she was having like these like dizzy spells. I think she must have had something like else, and she like faints and she has blood coming out of her nose, and then she just stops breathing and she dies. After she dies, Maisie Williams' character starts fainting, and I think it's implied that other characters start fainting. And so I think the whole movie is supposed to be about like this curse that is causing all these girls to faint. I just didn't care, and it was weird. And I stopped at a point because there was going to be incest, and I was like, these YouTube videos are taking years off my life, because all of these movies have incest in them, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, who is asking for this? The Game of Thrones-ification of all these movies is so unhinged. I'm gonna end here, and I'm just gonna read you some of the Letterboxd reviews, because I was like, I looked it up, and the Metacritic score and the IMDb score was like kind of like much higher than I expected. I'm like, am I crazy? But the Letterboxd reviews made me feel more sane. So the first one I like is, what the fuck is going on here on this day? Which, it's less funny when you read it out loud, but that's just exactly how I felt. So many awful choices were made. Agree. And then this gem. Can my favorite actors please stop making me watch movies that include incest? Which, I felt this in my soul. I felt this in my soul. I will catch you in the next one. Okay, hey guys. I'm talking very quietly because everyone in my house is currently sleeping. I am on to my second movie. It is Lady Macbeth 2017. So already we're getting to like some pretty recent movies. This one was also available for free on Amazon, so that is great. I know Macbeth is a Shakespeare play. It's not one I've read, shockingly, because I've read more Shakespeare than any sane human should, but I don't know what this is about. I am scared. I didn't even look it up. I hope it's not horror. Florence has been in so many like scary things that I'm scared. Okay, let's just get into it. Hi, we're back with Flash. The first 10 minutes of this is like, that's the only way I can explain it. I'm back to speak with you about Lady Macbeth. I have watched the second video. Do I know how horrible this shot is? I do. Moving on. This movie was better than the first one, as in I was able to watch the whole thing. Was it good? I don't know. I wouldn't say it was good. I wouldn't say it was bad, though. It was like okay. As far as I could tell, this was Florence's second feature-length film she's done. I think her acting has already like improved. The one thing I must acknowledge that I noticed across both videos or both movies, if I would be like Florence Babe, one thing to work on would be like laughing. Like her acting laughing is very much like Like, it's just like not real. What this movie is about, it opens with Florence, who plays Lady Macbeth. She's like forced into a marriage. She's like essentially sold into marriage, and it's her relationship, like a really strained relationship with her husband, who doesn't seem sexually interested in her, and like her father-in-law treating her quite poorly. It's very important that you check the trigger warnings before watching this movie, because there are some things that I think can be triggering to people. There's sexual assaults, and I don't know, just some things that could be, there's nothing explicit, but there's some things I think that could be harmful to people. So it's about her having an affair with someone who has like a lower status, and it's during a time where obviously like you get married once and you can't marry again unless your partner dies. There's some like heinous deeds that occur in order for her to keep her affair, and kind of like the extent, the length she'll go to in order to stay with her partner outside her marriage. There's also definitely a discussion on like race, because there's black servants, and kind of the disregard and disloyalty and behavior towards black people from white people. I think there's definitely a discussion on that in the movie. Is it very deep? No. The way I have to read Macbeth now, because this can't be right, because it was just like not at all what I expected. I also am worried, because I know it's cursed to say Macbeth, but I think it's more if you're in it, if you're like acting in the play Macbeth, I think it's bad to say it. Either that or I'm severely cursed right now, I'm not sure. But I know there is some sort of lore around that, but I have never read it, and so I'm like, this can't, I remember watching it and being like, this can't be right, because it's so surface level. My next note says, like, what is the point of this? This sucks. Because there's a long point in time where I think like the biggest thing I have with this movie that I don't like is that like it just didn't feel like it added anything to any conversation. What am I learning here? What am I gaining here? And the answer ultimately was nothing. Also, because these movies aren't like super popular, there's not that many reviews to like go through. Okay, the first one is, Shakespeare, can you pick me up? I'm scared. True. And this one said, there was a bit too much laughing from my wife during this, which I think you can understand by me telling you she's having an affair and some bad things happen, okay? So if you want to know what happens, watch the movie. It's on Amazon Prime, but I don't recommend because it wasn't that good. See you in the next one. Peace and love. Hey guys, what's up? It's been a minute. I've been like very slow with creating this video. I don't know. I'm hoping to get this out before Don't Worry Darlings comes out, which is coming really soon, I know. On that note, I have watched Fighting with My Family. So I kind of just finished the beginning movies with The Falling and Lady Macbeth, and now we are entering kind of the middle of her career, which is like kind of like hard to say because her career doesn't span that much time. She's a very young actress, but I have like skipped a few in the middle to see if there's like a noticeable difference in like her acting ability and the type of projects she goes towards. So Fighting with My Family is a little different from some of the other stuff she's done, like most of the other stuff she's done that I've watched. For example, the next movie we're going to talk about is Little Women, and that like tonally is a lot different. So based off of her other material, this movie does feel like a really random choice, but one that I get just based off where, like, my understanding of where she was in her career. You know, Florence is doing a lot of these, like, less known, like, still relatively popular, like, they're gonna get views, it's not gonna be, like, a total indie film, but she hasn't done anything, like, super mainstream yet, so anything big, and so I think this was, like, kind of a big turn in her career, where she was getting the opportunity to be a lead in a really mainstream movie. Like, I remember before knowing who Florence Pugh was, I like distinctly remember getting the ads for this, and I think it stuck in my brain because The Rock is in this movie, Dwayne Johnson. So I think like the advertisement that way, it became more memorable to me because I know who The Rock is. Fighting with My Family is based off a true story, which I did not know until the end. It's about a wrestling family from a small town in England. The mom, the dad, Florence Pugh is the youngest daughter, and then there's two older brothers. They were all wrestlers and they do like wrestling shows together, but the ultimate goal is to become a WWE wrestler. And so the youngest brother and Florence Pugh's character, who it's kind of hard to like decide on a name because she goes by 3 different names throughout this movie, because she has her real name, a wrestling name, she has to change her wrestling name, and ends up going by Paige. So I'm going to call Florence Pugh's character Paige. And so Paige and the youngest brother get to try out for WWE. Paige makes it and her brother doesn't. And it's all about kind of the dynamic between that, because it's like Paige doesn't necessarily make the WWE, but she makes you know how like, I don't know wrestling, so I don't know how else to explain this, but you know how like in baseball and MLB there's like the major league, but there's also like AAA and like all those other like minor leagues beneath them. It's kind of like that, where she makes like the minor leagues with the like opportunity to move up to the major leagues. I hope that's a reference people understand, because I'm sorry, I just don't know that much about wrestling. And so it's about that. It's about her coping with being away from her family, fulfilling her dream, and her brother coping with not making the team, and that's kind of the general plot. For me, that was a pretty good summary, I think. So my next note is, wait, The Rock is such a good actor, because he literally was so much better than I expected. The other really annoying thing is The Rock, they definitely like played us. The Rock is not in this movie that much. He probably has like 2 main scenes. So yeah, he really isn't in it that much. They definitely had him in there for the clout. But when he was on screen, he is like very convincing. You know, a lot of, I think, athletes kind of have a hard time transitioning. This is not the case with The Rock, okay? The Rock is actually a really good actor. He impresses me very much. And yeah, I just wish he was in this movie more, to be honest. They're not making this movie to win an Oscar. They're making this to be like entertainment for like the whole family. It's like definitely a PG movie. Nothing like really crazy happens in it. There's discussion about like prison and drug use, but it's like very, like the most PG way you can do it. It's not very descriptive or graphic, I guess. It's like all very chill. So it's not like they were going crazy, going stupid, trying to like sweep the award season or anything. It's like very much just a like, oh, this is a fun movie. And that's like it. So none of my discussion is like super intense. It's just like, I understand why Florence would do this role, but it's not anything like to freak out about. So a lot of my points are just like really semantical, like tiny things. One of which being, so Paige's like thing is that she's like really goth and not like other girls is like almost like the whole entire point of this movie, because all the other wrestling women are like, they were previous cheerleaders or models. So that's like Paige's thing, is like she's different and goth. And so Paige has this moment of like personal reflection, and she decides she wants to be more like the other girls. And there's like the sequence of the other girls at a pool party, and then Paige is in the bathroom with a bag. You can tell that it's like box dye in the bag, and then she comes out, and she like the next day she comes out to like meet the other wrestlers, and she's blonde and has like a fake tan, and her hair is like perfect. It's like perfectly blonde. And so Paige's whole thing being a goth tomboy, they're really trying to make us believe that she could dye her jet black hair like blonde, like the white blonde, and it's not like yellowy or green. I can't think of that word, but it's like toned correctly, I guess. That to me like pulled me out so bad, because I'm like, there's absolutely no way this girl was able to dye her hair from jet black to blonde by herself, having never done it before. Anyways, that one hurt me a little bit. I just wanted to acknowledge that there is actually like a fair amount of diversity in this movie. Like I don't want to say anything crazy, because it's like the bare minimum. It is like primarily a white cast. Also, they have Vince Vaughn in it, so that like kind of automatically like removes points from you. I do have some black and like people of color. I do want to say that one of the kids' issues is he's like selling drugs, and so the reason he's like wrestles is to prevent him from selling drugs and like keep him on the straight and narrow. And they make this character a person of color, and I think that was like such a wrong move. Like, did we have to make one of the diverse characters the one that's selling drugs? They do have a blind character that sticks out, and he's not like just there in the background, which is why I think it was like you could tell they put in some effort for diversity in this sense, and to have people with disabilities, because he has like a relatively active role for the background characters. You know, they show him wrestling multiple times, and they talk about him at the end of the movie in like the text script. I just want to acknowledge it, because I think it's good to, you know, we often like point out when there's like bad diversity or bad whatever, so I think it's nice to kind of point it out when there are some good times. There wasn't that many funny Letterboxd reviews for this movie. It was kind of just like, it was like a really average movie. So I only have one Letterboxd review screenshotted. Ian says, Dwayne Johnson is a perfect person to play The Rock. They look so much alike. I always tell my mom, which I thought was pretty funny. So anyways, that was Fighting With My Family. Next is Little Women, which we all know I'm a Greta Gerwig stan. We're gonna move on to Little Women, the most recent films in Florence Pugh's repertoire. Peace and love. The scene is shot so beautifully. I'm like freaking out watching this because I love it so much, but like the cinematography. Guys, it's just such a good holiday vibe. Beginning of fall, this fits perfectly. I just haven't watched this movie in a while and it just like hits me, bro. I wish I was a part of making this movie, and I wish I was a part of Little Women, like canon. For a second I like forgot that I was watching this for this Florence video, because one, I've already seen this movie before, but it's just so good that you like get sucked into the world. This scene, bitch. If you have never seen this scene, look up like Amy and Laurie scene on YouTube or something, because this scene is so fucking good, bro. It's so good, and the writing is impeccable, and the delivery is so good. This is like my favorite scene Florence has ever done in my whole entire existence, and I'm gonna shut up so I can watch it. Hey guys, so I'm sitting on the floor. We're gonna wrap this up. I've watched the last 2 movies I'm gonna watch for this video, and I'm ready to discuss them. I have seen Little Women before, so this was not my first time. It's a Greta Gerwig movie, who, if you don't know, is my favorite director, so it's like, it makes sense that I've seen it already. So this was my actual like first experience watching Florence in a movie. I think prior to this video, this was my only movie I've seen with her in before. It's starting to become fall. This movie's such like a fall Christmas vibe, similar to how like Harry Potter is like a fall Christmas vibe, or like Gilmore Girls. I haven't watched it in like quite a bit of time, I think, which I didn't even realize. I just love this movie so much. I love what Greta Gerwig did with it. Anyways, I could go on forever. This is definitely my favorite movie that Florence has been in so far that I've watched. I know Midsommar is really popular, and I know I'm really sorry guys that I did not watch Midsommar for this video, but I really was planning on it. But one, I'm like running really late. I've been doing such a bad job at filming, and I really want to get this video out because Don't Worry Darlings is already out. So I'm trying to pick up the pace, and more importantly, I am so scared. I am too scared to watch it by myself. I could not get myself to do it. I'm sorry. I'm so scared, but I will watch it at some point. Anyways, back to Little Women. So the first thing that came to me was the fucking dude from The Dreamers is in this movie, and I hadn't watched The Dreamers the last time I had watched Little Women. Now I like now I've seen him in other things, and it's just so interesting seeing him be in that and now this, because there's like obviously a really big age gap, and there's like a lot of different tones and themes between the 2 movies. Yeah, he must be French in real life. This movie is based off Louise May Alcott's book, and if you don't know, there's like 3 or 4 versions of this movie. There's like a Winona Ryder version, and then I think there's like 2 other older versions. Some of them are like really old. It's like so modern. This telling of it is. That's not to say it loses like its period piece-ness. It's still like a lot of, you know, like the costume design and set design is like obviously supposed to be based in the past, but like everything else about it is really modern. Like you're not gonna have a hard time understanding them. So I should just go over really quickly kind of the plot and the cast. So the plot is called Little Women because it's kind of like this telling of 4 sisters growing up and finding their way in a time where kind of their goal in life is supposed to be to have an advantageous marriage, because that's like their only way of gaining wealth. This movie was cast so beautifully because you can just tell by the relationships like how close these people are. There's like a lot of like touching in this movie. So for example, like someone laying their head on someone's lap, or pushing, or holding hands. There's just like a lot of physical touch in this movie. Also just the way they interact is very familial between everyone, not even just the family. You just really get this feeling that everyone really does love each other. So the sisters are played by, Beth is played by Eliza Scanlon, who this is the first movie I've seen her in, I believe. Meg is Emma Watson, which you may know from like Harry Potter or Perks of Being a Wallflower. Amy is Florence Pugh, the whole reason we're making this video. And then Joe March is Saoirse Ronan. Other notable people in this movie is Timothée Chalamet is Teddy, or he goes by Laurie too. Laura Dern plays Marmee, or the mom of the 4 girls. Meryl Streep is in this too. Meryl Streep plays the aunt. So this cast is like really packed. To talk about Florence more specifically, I think this is like a huge step up in Florence's acting. I think that she does an excellent job in this movie. There's that scene between her and Timothée Chalamet's character Laurie that was like, I think, really influential and really important to the movie, where it talks about how marriage is a economic prospect. It's not, she can't just marry for love, because everything her and her children will become her husband's property. So everything she owns will be her husband's property. So for her, it is an economic prospect. It can't just be for love, because her entire existence is dependent on her husband. That's kind of all I have to say. I talk so long about each movie, so I'm gonna move on. But Little Women is so good. Obsessed. Let's move on to the last movie. Hey guys, so I'm trying to watch the final movie, but it's like not letting me. I'm not really in the mood for a Marvel movie right now, but like that could easily change. Wish me luck. Let's hope that it actually plays now. I'm like 15 minutes in. Pretty good so far. So much Russian. What other movie did I just watch where I was like, there's Russian in this? I just watched another movie with Russian. And David Harbour is a bitch in this movie. David Harbour's a bitch. He's got no feelings, and unrelated, he's Russian. So much is happening, and I can't tell if I'm supposed to be confused or if I'm just so far behind in Marvel that I don't know anything. So the last movie I watched last night, and it is Black Widow. So this is part of the Marvel universe. I'm gonna do a video eventually on Marvel movies, mark my fucking words. I started doing like the Marvel watch through from the beginning like 2 summers ago, and then school started and I never got to finishing it. So I do want to do like a whole thing of watching all the Marvel movies. So this is Black Widow, or like Scarlett Johansson's movie. Florence Pugh becomes one of the main characters. It ends up being Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, and I don't know the other woman's name. And the 4th person is Rachel Weisz. So I've seen Marvel Endgame. I've seen like the Spider-Man since then. So I was afraid that there might be some gaps. I heard this comes in between Captain America's first movie and then the end credit scene. Like that's how small the gap is in between. And I've seen Captain America's movie, but it was like when I was doing the rewatch 2 years ago. So I was like kind of here for the vibes and the vibes only. I knew, and I don't think this clearly isn't a spoiler because anyone who knows this, but I knew she couldn't, like Scarlett Johansson's character couldn't die in this movie because she's alive in like all the other Avenger movies. This movie's bad. I did not like this movie. I gave it 1.5 stars. It's so fucking boring. But Florence Pugh does a really good job. I think she's like the saving grace of this movie. Like she's the only thing that makes this movie good. The other thing that makes it good is David Harbour, but I would say Florence Pugh carries this movie and David Harbour helps out. I guess like if you don't know Marvel, it's like kind of like, so the Avengers, if you've ever heard of the Avengers, it's like the Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, and I'm so sorry to whoever I'm pretty sure there's 6, and I think I'm forgetting one. Anyway, so it's about like they each get like a lot of their spin-off movies, and so this is her spin-off movie, Black Widow, and it's about how she's supposed to be like she was like trained by the Russians by this like really corrupt program, and so it's her finding the program and like shutting it down. And so Florence Pugh plays Black Widow's like sister. They were like kind of raised together, but they're not biological sisters, but they were like separated really. They were only like together for like 3 years, so that's why it's like I'm saying sister, nothing to do with them not being biological, just because they weren't together very much. Just like right off the bat, really interesting thing I think they did was they made Scarlett Johansson's character, whose name is Natasha, really tomboyish in the childhood scenes, which I thought was it was an interesting choice because she's been so over sexualized this whole like Marvel time, especially being like the only female Avenger. So them making her look really tomboyish was I just am curious about that choice, I guess. So none of the 4 characters who are supposed to be Russian are actually Russian, which is like, why don't you just cast Russian actors? But maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's just like, I feel like a Russian accent is really hard to do, and I feel like it doesn't always come off very well. I don't know, maybe that's just my opinion. 2 minutes of like boring ass dialogue, and then action sequence, and then some boring dialogue, and then action sequence, and then potentially another action sequence on top of that. It was just like, if that's your thing, this movie's totally for you. But for me, I was just kind of like, okay, they're fighting. Okay, they're fighting again. Okay, if I had a nickel for every time David Harbour escaped a Russian prison, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that happened twice, right? Dr. Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. But kind of funny. There's actually a lot of parallels between this movie and Stranger Things, and I just am curious if David Harbour also like noticed that. There is a Russian prison, and he does escape a Russian prison, and just interesting parallels. I'm so curious. Like, I would love to talk to him about this and what he thought about doing 2 movies that were like pretty similar, or 2 projects that have pretty similar things going on. So to get more specific about Florence Pugh, I think interestingly, like a lot of these movies, she's either not the like main star or she's sharing the main star with someone. In this one, she's not like the leading actress, she's the supporting. But Scarlett Johansson's character is so fucking boring in this movie that Florence Pugh saves it, because her character is really interesting. The way she delivers her lines, everything about this is very saved by Florence Pugh, and the David Harbour being like funny also helps. Like that's literally the only thing keeping this movie going. Also, dude, I can't even talk, like this is so shocking to me how bad the CGI is at the end of this movie. I didn't notice it until the end, but at the end it was like horrible because it was really bad CGI. And like I know sometimes when people say this I'm like, okay, I didn't notice the bad CGI. It is so noticeable, bro. Oh yeah, okay, so then my only other comment is if you're part of the Marvel universe or you've watched a lot of the movies, you've noticed that like they often get other Marvel characters into the movies. It's kind of like, that person's in this movie, that person's in this movie, because it gets you excited about like the other movies and the other characters. This movie has literally 0 other Avengers in it. They could not pull a single other person. At the end they pull up a picture of Hawkeye, not even the actual actor being there. It's just like they couldn't get anybody to be in this movie. I'm actually kind of proud of my Letterboxd review. My Letterboxd review is, this is like The Incredibles but bad, because it is. It's like it got that like family dynamic of like superheroes fighting bad people, except for this was really bad and The Incredibles is really good. So I'll take the applause on that one, thank you. Someone said, is Florence just picking roles based on what level of arson she gets to commit? Because I know she does arson like she starts fires in Midsommar, and she does in Little Women too. She burns something and puts it in a fireplace. Or I don't know, there's a lot of explosions in this movie, so I thought that one was kind of funny. And someone said Black Widow by Iggy Azalea feat Rita Ora didn't play once. They're lost, I guess, which is really funny. How could you not use that song, bro? Upsetting. I totally agree with them. Anyways, that's that. If I change the angle like slightly, can you guys pretend that this is a different shot and that you're excited? Okay. Hey guys, I'm gonna end this video right here, right now. Conclusions? Florence Pugh is a good actor, that's what I've decided. You can see a clear progression in her acting ability and the movies she's getting cast in and the roles she's playing in movies. I hope she's doing well. If you want to see another video like this, please let me know. This was really fun. I'm sorry if this video is all over the place. My life is all over the place, so it's kind of reminiscent of that. Yeah, if you guys go see Don't Worry Darling, please let me know your thoughts because I'm so curious. I've heard such mixed things about Harry Styles' acting. I heard Florence is very good, and I love me a thriller, so I will go see it and I will be more than happy to discuss it. Let me know your thoughts on any of the movies I talked about or any other— ooh, that kind of sounded like Stacy there from Zoe 101. Let me know your feelings on any of the movies I talked about or any other Florence movies you think I should watch. Yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you— hopefully I haven't been out of focus this whole outro. That would be awkward. Subscribe for more book, movie, whatever I feel like content, and I'll see you next time. Peace, love, and happiness. Mwah!